We're on page 186 in the Maamar Az Yibokak Ashachar Erecha. The Refri Rebbe said in 1934 in Glubaka. We're at the new paragraph, Ubir Ha'inyanhu. But just to bring you up to date, what we learned about earlier is that the previous Rebbe, the author of the Maamar, he says that the Pasuk Az Yibokak Ashachar Erecha, when will the dawn light break through and bring healing? He says it's when you reveal your true self. The language that he uses, Avi, is Oyer Gilui Oyer Ho'atzmi, the revelation of the essential light that's etzem, part of your essence. When you experience that, then you will break through. And he says, how? So the question is, how can I experience that? I'd like to experience that. What do I have to do? So the Rebbe says, the verse before in Yeshaya gives us 4 criteria what we need to do. Prois l'roev rachamecha, feed, give of your bread to the hungry. That's number 1. V'niyim rudim tave bayis, the downtrodden bring into your house. Number 2. Number 3, kisira orim v'chisisai. If you see someone who is naked or doesn't have clothing, dress him. And number 4, umipsarcha leitisalim, and don't hide, don't disguise, don't conceal your own flesh, your own family, your own situation. In other words, make sure that you take care of yourself and help yourself as well. These 4 are criteria in order to reveal Yibokak Ashachar, that dawn light that's so powerful that brings healing. And now, on page 186 in the new chapter, which we're going to learn now, the Rebbe is going to start explaining these 4 criteria. Let's go. Good morning, Yairi. To explain this further, the Hine, Inyan Truva, the idea of Truva, it is not the way the world thinks of Truva. Hirak al dvar aveira chas v'sholem, that Truva is only when you do, God forbid, a transgression, which we call an aveira. The aveira hi sheinoi mikayem ha-mitzvahs aseh oiseh lo yiseseh. An aveira is if you don't fulfill the positive commandments which we were told to do, or we desecrate a lo yiseseh, something Hashem says we shouldn't do. And if you violate one of the 2, then you have to do tshuva. So the Rebbe says, Ein ha'inyan kain. This is not correct. This is not the only time you have to do tshuva. Elo inyan ha'tshuva, but rather the idea of tshuva al derech masha kosuv is similar to what's written in the verse in Koheles, quote, Ruach toshuv el ho'elikim, and the spirit will return to God, Asher Nesana, who gave us the Ruach, the spirit. And the sages in Tractate Shabbos explain this verse in Koheles to know loi k'meshin nesana loch b'tahara. Return your soul to Hashem to know loi. Give it back to Him like He gave it to you in purity. When Hashem gave a person a soul when he was born, it was pure. So when it's time to return it in a pure way. Af ato betara, you too should be pure. Opeiresh Rashi, and Rashi explains, have a zoyer, be careful. Shetishivena, a love, that you shall return to Hashem, the neshama, k'meshin esona lecha nekiya below oven, as He gave it to you, pure, without sin and transgression. So basically, what do we understand? that the idea of teshuva means to return the neshama to the state it was before it was given, when it was given to us. Which means, Avi, what does it mean? That even if you're a tzaddik, and even if you're a beinoni, and even if you're a gewaldige guy and you're not a sinner and all that, nevertheless, the neshama went through many years of eating and sleeping and working and doing mitzvahs. Well, it gathered some dust, it gathered some stains, it got muddy walking in the desert, right? So when it's time to return to neshama to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, regardless if you are someone that's not a Baal Chet or a Baal Avon, nevertheless, you need to still return the neshama to the level of purity it was when it was given to you. You have to bring it back to that level, and that is what? I don't hear you.
It doesn't seem so reasonable exactly. I initially thought of it like you rent a car and they check out the car if there are bumps, bruises, scratches on it. And then when you return it, it shouldn't have that. But if a person is living a good life, at minimum doing the positive mitzvahs, not doing the negative averas, but he's improving himself, his neshama should even be in a better state than when he got it.
Why? When he got to the neshama, he was all pure and clean.
But now he's worked himself. He put improvements into it. He put in a new kitchen. He put in a new bathroom.
I understand, but are there other parts of the house that are still problematic?
Okay. I'll go along with you.
No, Avi, it's not an argument. It's a discussion. What you're identifying is the rich power of tshuva. That's true. But that's not a substitute, Avi, for the state of the neshama as it was when it was given. So you're right. There's one aspect of tshuva on whatever you're doing tshuva about, whether it be aseh or lo seseh, that's most meaningful. Granted, I agree. But there's another aspect that there's still part of the dust and stains of travel and that hasn't yet been dealt with, and that needs rectification too. I mean, that's the whole idea of reincarnation and rectification and all of those ideas. It's not only for sin. People make a mistake and they think that Gilgulim and reincarnation and all of that is only for sins. It's a mistake. It's also for what we call shleimut, completion, perfection. So, for example, Yoni, you're not a Kohen, I'm not a Kohen, we're all not Kohanim. How do we get the virtue of the mitzvahs that Kohanim do? Right? And this is a question that is asked and discussed in the Kabbalah. So one answer is by helping the Kohanim. So what do we see? We see that although we're not Kohanim, we still want to find an element in our neshama that should be credited with the Kohanim like mitzvahs. So of course we're not Kohanim. We're not going to duchen. We're not allowed to duchen. Anyway, let's continue. Now the Rebbe, so the point, but let's not lose track of the nekuda here. The nekuda herein, this is so important because in yeshiva they don't teach you this. Outside of Chabad yeshivas. In yeshiva world, the idea of tshuva is for averos. Or tshuva is for not doing the mitzvahs you were supposed to do. The Chabad Hasidus teaches that's not the core of tshuva. That is a result of tshuva and a condition of tshuva. But the core of tshuva is, the word itself means return. Return your soul to the place it was and the way it was when it was given to you. So even if you're not a Bal Aveira in this area or that area, you still need to somehow bring your neshama back to that place. Let's continue. Now, since Rashi uses the word Havizoyer sheteshivena elav Kemoshenosna l'chol nikia beloy ovain. So the Rebbe now picks up on the word ovain versus avera. Let's see what he says. The ovain eino inyan avera bepoyel ra. Ovain signifies not an actual avera in actuality. Oy beheder ki mitzvah, or an actual non-doing of a positive commandment when you're supposed to do it. Hello. The ovain has another meaning. Yonason, hu ivus v'ikum. In Yiddish, the word is krumkeit. In English, the word is chaos, confusion. Ivus v'ikum. So, ovain means that you went into a state of chaos, of confusion. And he gives an example. Take, for example, with the mind. Yesh mishahu maskil svara toiva vishara. There is someone who comprehends and understands something very well. There's someone else, v'yesh, shemaskil haskola toiva. He understands the idea very well. Aval hi akuma, but it's crooked. That's the literal meaning of the word, by the way, fakrumt, or as the Polish Hungarians say, farkrimt. In English, it's crooked. Aval hi akuma. Now, you hear that? He understands the idea, but he understands it in a crooked way. Hanikre, look what he says in Yiddish. Akrume kop. Did you ever hear that expression? He has a krume kop. Yeah. What does it mean he has a crooked head? That means he has a head, Yomi. Right? He has a head. He understands. But he understands it this way. He instead of scratching his left ear normally with his left hand, he comes up with a reason I should scratch it like this. That's called krum. That's called crooked. And you think about it, we've all experienced such people once in a lifetime probably, who have a krume cup. They might be very smart, but they apply their smarts in a crooked way. That's what he says. And he says that's the meaning of an oven. Let's see how he continues his thought. V'zehu beloy oven. This is what the Rashi says, that you are to return the neshama to Hashem without oven. Beli ikum. You know what that means? Without schemery. Without deception. Without crookedness. Don't try to be, there's another word in Yiddish, I'm sure some of you have heard it, an oiber chacham. In English, in vernacular, we call it a smart aleck. Okay? Always knows better. B'lo. So you just return your neshama to Hashem pure. Don't try to outsmart God, giving him a returned neshama with a crooked approach. The Yeridus HaNeshama Beguf, because the descent of the soul into a body, it is a descent, a yerida, for the purpose of an aliyah, of an ascent. When the soul, the neshama comes, descends below. And it invests itself in a body, in an animal drive, and it overpowers the convincing arguments of the animal drive, and therefore it continues to be involved with Torah mitzvahs. It makes a great aliyah in the neshama. Because the Nefesh Habamis is coming up with all kinds of schemes and arguments why you shouldn't learn, why you shouldn't do mitzvahs or learn as much as do mitzvahs in the nicest way and all that, and you overpower it. That means you did not allow the avon, the ikum, the crookedness to get in the way. Avi, do you mind muting yourself, please? And the idea is the niksiv. It says in Shir Hashirim, "Kumi lechor ayosi yofosi ulechiloch." Rise to yourself. Get up. Rayosi, my spouse, my friend. Yofosi, my beauty. Ulechiloch, and go. The Isa ben Medrash Rabbah, so the Medrash on this verse says the following interpretation. Kumi loch. Who should rise? Bitoy shel Avram Avinu, the daughter of Avram. Dichsiv Bey, because it says by her, Lech Lecho. Go to yourself. Who is to go? The Bitoy. Now Bitoy here doesn't mean literally daughter. It means, I think, like the house. You'll see soon. The Yisrael Nikroyim Rayosi Yofosi. Yidden are called my friend and my beauty. Ayidei Kiyam HaTorah Mitzvahs. Through doing Torah Mitzvahs, Jews are labeled my friend and my beauty. But Rayosi has another meaning. Rayosi means Parnososi, my sustainer. Ukemaimer, and as the sages say, Yisrael mifarnesin laviem shebeshamayim. The Jews give parnasa, give sustenance to our Father in heaven. How do we give parnasa to HaKadosh Baruch Hu? It's through our study of Torah we are feeding God. As it says in Mishneh, Lechu lachmu belachmi. Go with your bread through my bread. Go with your bread, Jews, Yidden. You give God bread through your bread. The HaTorah hi lechem shelamayla. The Torah that we learn is the food of heaven. So someone asks you, Yoini, what does God eat? The answer is Torah, because Torah is called lechem. We, Yonis, are giving Hashem lechem, bread. So that is Rayosi, from the Pasuk, right? Rayosi, from meaning my feeder, like Roeh. Now comes Avi, the word V'yafasi, and my beauty. Hu'inyan kiyum mitzvahs. This is not the study of Torah, but the application of mitzvahs, the doing of mitzvahs. The mitzvahs heim levushim. Mitzvahs are called garments. Next page, 187. Chol inyan hayofi, and the entire idea of beauty, hu belevushim, are expressed through the garments. You put on a garment, you look one way. A nicer garment, you look another way. So when you talk about the beauty, you're talking about the garments. And this is man's activity. The Yid, the person, has to develop himself to be rise to yourself. Kumilach, meaning sheyagia l'sherish umoker haneshama. That the Jew has to rise to his source, to his essence. What does it mean, Yoini, that you have to rise to your essence? I thought my soul, my neshama, is my essence. Says the Rebbe, yes and no. Look at his point. When we say, Yoini, that the soul is in the body, Kabbalah and Chassidus teach us not all of the soul is invested in the body. V'rak, and only ha'ora mimeno bilvad, only an emanation, kind of part of the soul of the neshama, nimsheches baguf, is drawn into the body. Avol, ikira neshama, the primary aspect of the neshama, he lemaila, it remains lemaila in heaven. Uksiv, and it says, Ki chelik Hashem amoy, a portion of God is his nation. Yaakov chevel nachalosoi, Jacob is a rope of his inheritance. And he explains the verse. For example, a rope. One end of the rope. Kosher l'mayla is tied above. Vikotseyu hasheni, and the second end of the rope, kosher l'mata, is tied below. Hine kishemenananim kitsei ha'echad, when we shake one end of the rope, either of the ends, misnasneya gam kotseyu hasheni. Guess what? Even the second end of the rope shakes. The kasha mitnaneya ktseo elyoin, when you shake the upper part of the rope, misnasneya gam king ktsea tachten, the lower part of the rope shakes as well. Or vice versa, kasha misnasneya kitsas ktsea tachtoin, when you shake the lower part of the rope, misnasneya gam king ktseo elyoin, then the upper part of the lower rope also shakes. This is the end of the mashal, the parable. Now comes the nimshal, the moral. So, metaphorically speaking, it's with the rope of the soul. The tzei ha'elya, in the upper part of the soul, who shoydish haneshama l'mayla, it's the source of the soul, of a person's soul, as it is in heaven. The tzei tachton, and the lower part of the soul, who ha'oris haneshama, it's the emanation of the soul, the reflection of the soul of the neshama, hamulubeshes baguf, that's invested in the body. Before I continue, is the mashal and the nimshal clear, Yoini?
Yes.
Okay. Avi, is it clear?
Yeah.
Okay. So at the time when the upper part of the soul, which is the source of the soul, it hears an announcement, Yoni, a heavenly announcement. What is the here? Quote, Shuvu banim shayvavim, return, you wild children, you wild yakin, wild, wild, shayvavim. You're partying, you're all over the place. Do tshuva, shuvu. Oi, or here's another baskoil. A baskoil, right? They have that song, baskoil. Here's another heavenly voice. Hamachrezes, that announces, quote, Oi lahem labriyos, woe to the creatures, melboinoi shel Torah, who have disgraced the Torah. Hine hu poyel. So when the neshama in our neshama in heaven, which is the essence of the neshama, hears these hachrozos, these announcements, and these kruzim, guess what it does? Hine hu poyel. It impacts gam b'ktseya tachton, the lower part of the neshama, that shehu ha'oris ha'neshama, which is the emanation of the neshama only, hamulu beshes beguf, that's invested in the body. And guess what? And you get a wake-up call. And this is an answer, very important, guys, an answer why and how it is that a person can be just walking and going about their life, and all of a sudden a thought of tshuva comes and they say, I have to make a change. A drastic change. But what did you learn and what did you do that this hisaidus, this arousal and awakening of tshuva came to you? The answer is, your neshama in heaven heard the call, and it pulled the rope, and it's like pulling the fire rope that the fire engine should go out to extinguish the fire, and the neshama lamata, our soul below, gets a pull, a call, and it says, and put on my boots and get working. That's what he says here. And this is the idea of Yisoidus, the arousal, the awakening, that a person suddenly is aroused to study Torah, or to support Torah, and to support Torah, Uvesayder is Truva. Sometimes someone, without being approached, is and he's very, if he's capable, he wants to give a lot of money for Torah. Why? And you can't figure out what happened. The answer is that the soul from above gave him a wake-up call that his soul needs that right now. And so too, Uvesayder is Truva, arousing a person to Truva. So this is also true with doing mitzvahs and good deeds. That the soul below does. Why? You haven't done this mitzvah in a long time, and all of a sudden you're into this mitzvah. The answer is because your soul from above called you and says to you, this is the mitzvah you should do now. This call from heaven causes an elevation in the very core and essence of the soul, as the soul is in heaven. In other words, Yaini, when this call is made by the soul in heaven, it also gives the soul in heaven an aliyah, a rise. When he goes back to the pasuk, what?
A boost.
I don't hear you. What?
A boost.
A boost. Yeah, good. And this is the meaning of kumiloch, rise, loch to yourself, kumiloch. The avodas ha'adam tzarich liyos lechaber ha'oris haneshama. The activity of man requires there be a binding, a connection between the emanation of the neshama as it's in the body, im shayrish ve'etzem haneshama, with the essence as it's in heaven. There has to be a connection. The ischabrus, and the connection, hi al yedei, it is through rayosi yafosi, through the sustainer, which is Torah, and yofsi, the beauty, which is mitzvahs. Those two things are what connect our neshama on earth with our neshama as it is in heaven. And when you do that, you're able to go to yourself. Shehu aliyah. This is the true going elevation, the true aliyah. The shayrish ve'etzem neshama, the essence of the soul. Shitachlis, so aliyah, which is the ultimate aliyah. The shayrish ve'etzem neshama, the essence of the soul. That the essence of the neshama has an aliyah through the yerida of the neshama here below on earth. When doing Torah mitzvahs, it causes an uplifting, an aliyah in the neshama l'mayla. 1 second. However, in order for there to be a connection between the two, you have to go into your very essence. And this is the meaning. He quotes the Medrash earlier. Rise, daughter of Avram, Olav Hasholem. Dichsiv Bey. It says by Avram lech lecha. The Bereshis Kiruva shel Avram Avinu L'Sholem B'Avidas Hashem. Avram's initial coming close to God to serve Him. Nemar Loi, it was said to Avram, Lech Lecha, go to yourself, Me'artzecha, from your land, Me'ladcha, your birthplace, Ubeis Avicha, and your father's home, El Ha'oretz Asher Areka, to this nation, to the country that I will send you. Shebezeh Ramzai Li Avram Avinu. This all alluded to Avram, that Reishis or Avodah Hashem, it was all teaching Avram, you want to be godly? You want to have a relationship with God? You have to be Mekayim, you have to fulfill these 3 steps of Lech Lecha, Me'artzecha, Me'moladecha, and Me'beis Avicha. Tehine, and the Rebbe is going to explain now. Tehine, yesh non gimel yonim kailim. There are 3 general ideas, Mashehem, Moinim, Avodas Hashem, which prevent us from serving God. Vehein, and they are. Ho Aleph, 1. Hamshochel inyonei olam, being drawn after worldly matters, kifi hamusug, the nefesh hativi, based on the comprehension of the natural soul, meaning the nefesh habamis, shenimshech acharei inyonei olam bichlal, which is drawn after worldly matters overall, v'divrei taiva, and lusts and desires, v'chem the gufniim, bodily desires, befrat, specifically. V'hei minyonim achumniim, these are corporeal matters, v'oartziyim, and very earthly matters, shenefesh ativis machmodosam, that the animal drive desires them. The base animal kind of desires. As the Ramban Nachmanides explains on the verse, Ucha'ayor pere odom bivoldoi, man is born like a wild donkey. The parable for this is just like an infant. She is that doesn't have any comprehension of humanity. How to act like a mensch with good character, and with mindful ideas, because he's still an infant. And based on his not an infant, even a child, a tinuk, but based on his comprehension currently, his entire outlook is give me milk, I'm hungry, dress me, wipe me, etc. And he has no embarrassment whatsoever. Top of next page, 188. Gufni kabehema. Because at this state in his development, the child is corporeal and body-like, like an animal. Keinu benefesh, so too, hativi, with the animal natural soul drive, asher nimshech rach acher in yoni aguf, it's drawn only after bodily matter, in earthly and corporeal matter. This is his effort and involvement to ascertain more and more of this. Aleim yisave, to these things he lusts, uvahem yispoer, and with these things he boasts. Umistamtem liboy umoiche, from the word timtum, and his heart and mind are clogged, are jaded. Milohovin, from understanding, ulisoider betoiv, and from becoming aroused with good sickly, with good intelligence, bichlal, umikolshkein, and needless to say, mehavadnosei seichel eliki, from definitely that his mind and heart are jaded from understanding godly logic, shutoiv amiti, which is the true good. So this person, this is the, yes, Avi, you want to say something?
The expression para Adam is an interesting twist, because Yishmael is defined as para Adam, but according to his Perush, we all start out that way, but we move forward, and he got stuck. He didn't move forward.
Very good, very good. Bahabei is in the second type of issue that prevents us from avodas Hashem, from serving God properly. Hu inyan haragilus, habits. This Maamar falls right in place after the last kuntras that we learned, chinuch v'adracha, because he spoke also about habits, bad habits. So he says the second idea is habits. She'odem kosher b'regilus shoyness. A person is bound to certain habits that he formed. Hine levad zeh. In addition to the fact, there are certain habits that by essentially by nature they are no good for a person. Sometimes they're even bad for a person. Someone who has a habit of lying, hagaiva, bragging, boasting, and gossiping. Shehem ra. These habits are bad. In levad zois, in addition to this, harigufa etzem regilus, the very habit itself. Ubefrat hayiskashrus bezeh, and especially when one connects himself, mekushar, he binds himself to this type of habit. He says in Yiddish the word, die Zugebundigkeit. Zugebunden means to be tied, bound. The being bound, what do you say, Yoini?
Bundled.
Okay.
Bundled.
When you're bound to this habit, it prevents the cup from understanding properly. And it prevents you from serving Hashem more specifically. We'll stop here, and tomorrow we'll learn the third and fourth issues that prevent us in Avodas Hashem. The Rebbe is now dealing with this because he's going to give us a cure. But first, you have to understand the problem. This is what we learned in the Hayom Yom, I think last Thursday or Friday. In order to be healed, you need to know the problem. If you make believe you don't know the problem or you don't want to know the problem, it's not. The healing won't be good. Have a good day. We'll see everyone bright tomorrow. Zayt Gesund. Shalom. Bye bye. Take care. Take care.